Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this council as a whole meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller?
Present.
Councilor Anderbois is absent. Councilwoman Anthony?
Present.
Councilman Espinal?
Present.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonzalez?
Present.
Councilwoman Graves is absent. Deputy Majority Leader Harris is absent. Councilwoman Peterson is absent. Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo is absent. Councilor Royas is absent. Councilwoman Ryan is absent. Majority Whip Sanchez. Majority Leader Taylor. Councilwoman Ana Vargas is absent. Councilman Oscar Vargas is absent. You have 6 present and 9 absent. You do not have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So first of all, I'm sure that other councilors will be arriving as we get going here. I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Tonight at our full council, regularly scheduled full council meeting at 6 o'clock, we have a resolution in front of us in opposition to the removal of the bike lanes. And so we wanted to provide a moment to have some public testimony on that issue. We know that 30 minutes is in no way sufficient to express all of the thoughts that folks have already expressed in the public and elsewhere, but did want to create some space for public comment before we heard that resolution. So tonight, in the spirit of as many people being able to be heard as possible, I have Gabby here from our communications office who is going to be keeping time. We're going to try and keep it to a minute. And I will ask people to wrap up so that we can encourage hearing from as many people as possible. And with that, Madam Clerk, will you please enter into the record? We have 294 letters in total, 178 that are letters opposing removal, 116 also opposing removal that were faxed, and 1 letter by email supporting removal. So, Madam Clerk, please enter that as received into the record.
So noted.
And I would like to call our first participant here. Is Naz Faraz available? Welcome.
Can you hear me? Okay. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me here today. I'm here with my daughter, Soraya, who accompanies me and I believe would support most of what I'm about to tell you. So I live 1 block from South Water Street, and I've been there for the past 10 years. I can see the intersection from my living room window. I've lived, so I think I have a pretty good idea over this long span of time about that intersection in particular. So I want to say at first that this is not just something that impacts the Fox Point neighborhood or the pedestrian footbridge neighborhood or the Plant City neighborhood. This is my neighborhood. Number 1, safety. The pedestrian bridge hosts an innumerable number of pedestrians, bikers, people on foot, my son's bus route every morning and every afternoon, children's bikes, speeding cars, and there's no stop sign. Drag racing has been a problem in that area prior to the introduction of the bike lanes. We lived it, we had neighbors who moved out of the area because of the drag racing. This is a really big problem. When the bike lane came into existence, the drag racing completely stopped because there could not be 2 lanes of traffic competing with each other for the drag racing. This is a green city.
Please wrap up.
Okay, this is a green city. Let's please encourage biking, not discourage it. Mayor Smiley says it's to ease the 195 traffic, but he had made up his mind prior to this bridge catastrophe to dismantle the bike lane. Finally, it simply doesn't make sense. It's not in the best interest of the residents in the neighborhood, the bikers who are helping ease the congestion on the roads, or the children and other vulnerable members of our community who use this area on a regular basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Dylan. Thank you. Madam Clerk, please note that Councilwoman Graves has joined us, and I'd like to call Dylan Giles. And if folks could state their name, and please note Councilwoman Anderbaugh has joined us.
So noted.
If folks could state their name and address before you get started, and you have 1 minute, sir.
Thank you. My name is Dylan Giles. I'm actually a resident of Pawtucket, but I'm here representing the Providence Streets Coalition. I'm a resident of Pawtucket, but I'm here representing the Providence Streets Coalition tonight. I do want to first off thank you, President Miller, for allowing public comment for the first time on this matter tonight, and to all of the council for hearing our stories. For too long, this issue has simmered under rumor and whispers, and I'm glad that we can finally discuss this plan in the light of day tonight. Obviously, the Providence Streets Coalition stands opposed to the removal and have yet to see any data supporting it. And of course, the idea that one lane will fix it is a well-documented lie, and we should be encouraging active transportation as a proven remedy to congestion and other reasonable data-driven decisions. I urge the council to do everything in its power to preserve the South Water Street bike lane in its current configuration. But more broadly, this is not just about a bike lane. This is about a part of the city that owes its very identity to the walkability and human-scaled nature of the infrastructure and development that takes place there. Since the 2021 installation, the South Water Street Trail has helped make the waterfront a safe corridor where people want to go, a magnet for residents and tourists alike, and a model for how we can design public spaces. So I say to the council, we implore you to block the removal of the safety infrastructure on the South Water Street bike lane using CIP funds not previously approved for bike lane removal. I urge you to support Councilman Gonzalez's resolution tonight and to do everything in your power to ensure that safe infrastructure continues to exist and proliferate on the streets of Providence.
Thank you, Dylan, and thanks to the Providence Street Coalition. In the interest of us having our as many voices heard as possible, I'll remind folks to keep your eye on Gabby as you're speaking and be mindful of the time. Jeremy Herbert. And Jeremy, if you could give us your address and go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Herbert. I'm a resident of Pawtucket, and I'm here to oppose the removal of the urban trail on South Water Street. One of my wife's and I's favorite activity is to come to the Providence waterfront to scooter around, stroll around. I'm a soon-to-be father who looks forward to bringing my son to South Water Street in the future to enjoy what has become one of the best parts of the city. Losing that opportunity would be devastating due to an unsubstantiated claim that the urban trail is causing additional traffic. I moved to Providence in 2021, just before the urban trail was added, and I've seen traffic go down, not up. The city has created a gem of a location that attracts many visitors in colder months and even more in the warmer months. When we have something we care about, whether it be our children or our community, we need to protect it. I ask that the council here to help support that mission, not just for me, but so that we can make Providence a better city for our future generations to come. Thank you.
Missed anyone else? No. And Kelly Cochio, please.
For wheels that turn and people who believe. Be it not a car to take us off our feet, give me a place to ride my bike that is safely off the street. And now they speak of its ultimate demise, to erase this safe street's existence beneath our blue skies. Take away the sidewalk, then what's next? But hear me now, for I beat on my chest. I'm just a girl who wants to ride my bike without injury. I want safety, I want peace, I want a green street victory. Let's nurture this lane, let it flourish and bloom, for in its presence our city finds room. So let's not erase what we've built with care, but cherish this bike lane, a symbol in our city that is oh so rare. Thank you very much.
Bill Thomas. Bill Thomas. Bill, if you could give us your name and address, and you have 1 minute.
Yes, Bill Thomas, Providence. A tough act to follow with a nice poem. I've just got 3 points. First, I disagree with the removal of the bike lane. Second point, my spouse uses it to commute to and from work, reducing car traffic, and I don't want to worry about her twice a day and worry about her safety and not returning home safely. The mayor stated recently that it was, quote, probable that the new bike lane wouldn't be implemented before the removal, so I'm concerned about the safety in the interim when there's no bike lane. Ultimately, I just want a safe spot for my family to bike around the city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Eleanor Thomas. Hi, Eleanor. Welcome. What would you like to share with us?
I have 2 points. Point 1, people use the bike lane to go to work, such as my mom, and I don't want her or any other people to get hurt. Point 2, bikes can be used instead of cars, making less climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tyler Romero. Thank you, Tyler. Please give us your name and your address, and you have 1 minute.
Hello, my name is Tyler Romero. I live on the east side of Providence, and I'm here today in opposition of the removal of the bike lanes on South Water Street for what would be an addition of vehicular lanes for cars. Climate resilience, multimodal transportation, and safety are values that not only this body has espoused, but the mayor's office administration have espoused as well. The removal of those bike lanes would be in direct opposition of those values. When cities and communities across the country are moving forward with multimodal transportation for bikes, pedestrian, wheel strollers, and anything in between, this administration wants to do the opposite and take us back in time. 46,000 vehicular deaths last year in the United States, and he wants more cars on the street. And that's something that I would be against. Thank you.
Cameron Lafreniere, I believe. Okay, thanks, Cameron. Name and address, and you have 1 minute.
Hi, yes, I'm Cameron. I live on the east side of Providence. I'd just like to mention a few points. What makes Providence uniquely great? It is a calm, inviting, it is a place with narrow, low-speed, tree-lined streets where walkability, bikeability, and transit are viable options, where you don't have to worry about getting killed by a motorist speeding onto a highway on-ramp, and can instead enjoy the tranquility of the waterfront with a beautiful city skyline in tow. Lest we forget, 70-odd years ago, Fox Point was decimated by urban renewal, which broke apart a majority Black and Latino community by shoving an 8-lane highway right through the heart of the neighborhood. Our tax dollars and our city population decimated by nearly 100,000 from 1940 to 1980. We dropped in 100,000 population. It took us 40 years to figure out what the devastation that this had. It's easy to see the mistakes from that era now, but in hindsight, we have that benefit now. I'd like to remind the council that prior to the installation of the bike path, there were 3 deaths within 5 years from 2013 to 2018 when there were 2 car lanes on South Water Street. I say no to that, and I urge the council to do the same.
Thank you. Daria Brashear. Welcome, Daria. If you could just give us your name and address, and you have 1 minute. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Daria Phoebe Brashear. I live at 1900 Broad Street. I would like to remind us all that prior to the bike lanes being installed, that South Water Street was basically a racetrack, and that it's not worth undoing the progress we've made for effectively less than 5 hours a week of rush hour, that if there is absolutely a need for any change, that no infrastructure would need to be changed south of James Street, that the rightmost parking lane could be made no parking during rush hour, and that additional capacity would be available on that basis. That's all I've got. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Daria. Colin Mills. Colin, if you could give us your name and address, and you have 1 minute.
Yeah, my name is Colin Mills. I live off Angel Street in Ward 2. Many of the folks here speak my mind, but I want to add that Mayor Smiley's plan is in direct opposition to the city's climate justice plan, which states its aim to, quote, improve and expand walking and biking infrastructure and maintenance, especially sidewalks, protected bicycle lanes, and shared use paths. But beyond quality of life and environmental concerns, I am mostly frustrated at the fact that we already paid for this. Wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars in another lane when there's a bridge that needs reconstructing makes no sense and further demonstrates how out of touch Mayor Smiley is with the residents of Providence. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Sophie? I apologize for my bad reading, but Sophie Norsh Farnham, I believe. Sophie? How about Mike Knoll? Welcome, Mike. If you could give us your name and address, and you have 1 minute.
Sure. Mike Knoll from Grandview Street. I actually wasn't expecting to speak here, and though I didn't send the one email, I'm probably not going to get an applause. Sorry. I'll probably be the only person up here in favor of the plan as it stands today, because right now I'm taking a pause on judgment and saying that as long as the bike lanes aren't reduced, they're relocated, there's still an opportunity to have safe pedestrian travel through increased maybe alert lighting, stop lights, there's alternatives. I think there's a opportunity to make both sides happy here without throwing it out with the resolution tonight. I know it's going to get voted on, it's going to get passed, and that's great. Some of the language in there, though, a little hesitant on. Putting our past failings around curtailing motorcycle droves and drag racing. It's a failure of, not supporting law enforcement properly. I wouldn't credit the bike lane for that. It so happened, but I'm just saying I wouldn't have put that in the resolution. Sorry. If anyone wants to applaud me.
Thank you, Mike. Stephanie Wagner. Stephanie, if you could give us your name and address, and you have 1 minute.
My name is Stephanie Wagner, and I live in the Wayland Square neighborhood of Providence, and I oppose the proposed change to the South Water Street bike lanes. I'm a pediatrician and child psychiatrist in training here in Rhode Island, and every day I talk to my families about how seemingly small decisions can make a huge difference in people's safety and health. We know how bike lanes that take up space in the road slow traffic and make it safer for both pedestrians and bikes, and that those green spaces that are being developed make a huge difference for the future of children and their families. Moreover, we're trying to set an example for our kids about the future we can have with a greener city that's more walkable and bikeable. And it's one of my routes to my clinics, as it is for my colleagues. And so I hope you all can help us keep it a safer place as people get to work and school. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. David Mann. David Mann. Welcome, David. If you could give us your name and address, and you have 1 minute.
Thank you for having us. My name is David Mann. I live at 232 Adelaide Avenue in Elmwood. And I just wanted to speak to the fact that there's really been no data at all that's been shared publicly that would show that this would decrease traffic or congestion on the bridge in any way, shape, or form. What we do have data about is about safety on this street. Before the urban trail was installed, this was a street that many people know was used as a drag strip. People sped wildly down this street. And the city's own data showed that after the urban trail was installed, there was a decrease by 90% in excessive speeding. A plan to bring that street design back is a plan to increase excessive speeding 9-fold. This flies in the face of the mayor recently enacting Vision Zero in our city, and I encourage the mayor to reconsider and for the council to oppose this. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, David. Toby Arment. And Tony Adams is the next person. Is Toby here? And then Tony, you can get ready to go next. Toby, please give us your name and address, and you have 1 minute.
Hello, my name is Toby Arment. I live on Ives Street in the Fox Point neighborhood. I use this urban trail to commute to work downtown from Fox Point. It has made the journey a lot easier. I'm able to live car-free in the city of Providence because of bike infrastructure like this. That allows me to take the bus and bike instead of having a car. If I had to have a car instead, that would increase traffic. We need to get more people to use their bikes and use public transit rather than take cars. As the previous speaker said, there's absolutely no data backing that this is going to do anything better, and we know that adding one more lane does not solve traffic. Adding another lane here is not going to do anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Tony Adams and Jake Poplaski, you are next. So Tony Adams, please give us your name and address, and you have 1 minute.
Yes, hi, Tony Adams, 286 Rochambeau Avenue, Providence, Rhode Island. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I've lived in Providence for over 20 years, moved here from San Francisco, raised my family here, and have had a great time using the streets of Providence for commuting, for exercise, for pleasure. I think this is an awful idea to remove this bike lane. I think the Mayor's own Green and Complete Streets Advisory Council presented stats on April 20th that highlight the positive effects that this bike lane has and others have added to the city, reducing casualties and injuries and reducing speeding. So I highly encourage all of you to review the data that's already been published that shows the positive effects. And I also want you to demand from the mayor's office any of the studies that they've done that show that the change will actually alleviate the traffic congestion for anything more than maybe an hour every day during the week. I think you'll find that that data doesn't exist and the study is not there to support their plan. So thank you, and please be with us and oppose this.
Thank you. Jake Poplaski and Stephen Burke, you are next. Jake, please give us your name and your address, and you have 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Jake Poplaski, Ward 5, Providence. First, thank you, council members, for taking the time to hear public comment. I'm a car owner who frequently travels South Water Street by bike to access the east side of the city. The bike infrastructure improvements over the past several years have made it possible for my family and I to share a single car, which obviously helps us handle the extraordinary cost of living increases we're all experiencing. I urge the mayor to abandon plans to dismantle the existing bike path on South Water. Using capital improvement plan funds to execute this plan is misguided spending. Let's instead use this money for its intended purposes of beautifying our parks, repairing our sidewalks, or maybe even just patching the car-destroying potholes all across the city. I'm incredibly discouraged by this plan, and I hope the mayor and council make the right decision to leave the bike paths alone and focus on bigger issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Stephen Burke and Maurice Collins, you are next. Stephen Burke, welcome. Please give us your name and address, and you have 1 minute.
Hi, I'm Stephen Burke. This is Theo. We live at 274 Morris Avenue. I'm down there all the time. I drive down there, I walk down there, I bike down there. I lived here 10 years ago. That area was terrible. That area was a nightmare. That area was a construction site. It's been turned into one of the loveliest areas of the city that I thoroughly enjoy taking my son to walk, to bike. He will bike down there on his own someday. I will bike down there to take him to school at Providence Public Schools in a couple of years. And the idea that it is going to change and that it's going to be reverted to, I've heard people refer to it as a drag strip, which I think is a great description of what it was before, is so depressing. It is such a step backwards to where we were before. And it doesn't seem at all like the mayor believes his own statements that this is for traffic reduction. It seems that he is lying. It seems that this is a thing that he has always wanted to remove since he came into office, and he found an excuse to do so and is doing it. And he seems to see the city council as an advisory board that he can consult or not, depending on what he wants to do. So I would just urge you to take every step you can to stand up against that attitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Maurice Collins, welcome, and Alex Diaz Popokovich is next. Thank you, Maurice. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Morris Collins. I live on Edgewood Boulevard in Providence, and I work on South Water Street. Bike lane is good for business. We've been doing business in this neighborhood for 25 years, and we urge you to consider the bike lane not only as a lane of traffic, but also in the way it has transformed the neighborhood, making it safer and more inviting to the kind of clientele we ultimately want and need to survive. One example, for 20 years, water fire was a loss for us. Surprising but true. We tried everything we could to get some of those thousands of people down to visit us, but nothing worked. The way was inhospitable and dangerous. Since the arrival of the bike lane, that has changed completely. It has become one of our best shifts. One of our best people now works it, and we hired an extra staffer to handle the level of business. The clientele we now get at this hour are new to us. They're older. They buy our more expensive products, tip our staff well, and they're kind to them. They're both a quantitative and qualitative improvement to our business. So we ask you to consider the many positive effects the bike lane has had in helping our neighborhood to become more than a speedway to the highway. Instead of what's best for people who want to leave our city as quickly as possible, please encourage those of us who live here and those who want to stay with us and maybe spend some money while they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Morris. Alex Diaz-Popkovich, and then Madi Garvin, you are next. Alex.
Hi there, thank you. My name is Alex Diaz-Popkovich, and I live at 146 Prospect Street in College Hill. We need not only to preserve the South Water Street bike lane, but to expand the city's network of protected bike paths. Bike lanes that make cities safer by making streets narrower, which reduces speeding, and make crossings shorter, which makes it quicker for people to cross, especially for little kids or people like me with injuries or disabilities, and people who also like me who carry loads of groceries from the nearby Trader Joe's. Bike lanes are good for the economy. They make it quick and easy to get around and visit businesses. They make patios and boardwalks more pleasant by reducing noise and reducing exhaust fumes, and just make it nice to hang out there and for people to spend time. They reduce traffic by getting cars off the road and getting people onto their bicycles or walking around or on scooters or whatever they want to do. And most of all, they make cities more safe and more enjoyable for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you please note that Councilwoman Peterson has joined us, and Maddie Garvin, David Drontichum is next. Maddie, welcome, and please give us your address, and you've got 1 minute.
Hi there, my name is Maddie Garvin and I live at 85 Cortlandt Street in Providence. I've used this bike lane since it was built. It has been such a big difference versus the way it was before. I have had so many horrible experiences on South Water and South Main before this was built. My friend had a full yet open beer can thrown at her and she ended up with a bruise from a car on South Main Street. And it's just like, what is going on here? It's insane. And like the whole idea of removing this is just so fiscally irresponsible. $750,000. What else can we spend our money on? Like lots of good things. There are so many pressing needs in this city. The bike lane is not broken. It does not need to be fixed. It does not need to be moved. The Washington Bridge sure does, but you know, that's not the problem here, you know? I don't know. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Maddie. David, I will let you pronounce your last name correctly, and Andrew Barnett is next. Welcome, David. You've got 1 minute.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is David Folcarelli. I'm a proud resident of Ward 2, and I frequently travel by foot, bike, and car in the South Water Street area.
David.
I'm here today to register my strong objection to the removal of the bike lane, which has made travel safer for every form of transportation. But as the council considers this proposal, I am sincerely asking that you place accessibility as your foremost concern. Right now, the pedestrian bridge and the coastal greenway are safe, accessible spaces for people with disabilities, seniors, and anyone else with mobility issues. Merging bicycles, scooters, and other street traffic onto the sidewalk, forcing them to share it, makes everyone less safe. Whatever design this relocation takes needs to do more than meet the bare minimum laid out by the ADA. It needs to preserve a safe space for people with walkers, wheelchairs, any other slow-moving foot traffic. Please protect our seniors and our disabled population while we're thinking about this project. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Andrew Barnett? Yes. And then David Dronnichum is next. Andrew, welcome. Please give us your address, and you've got 1 minute.
Sure. My name is Dr. Andrew Barnett, and I live in Providence in Federal Hill. I'm a clinical psychologist and a behavioral scientist. My work focuses on improving health outcomes for children and teenagers. I'm here to ask you to prevent the destruction of the urban trail on South Water Street. According to a recent Lancet report, in 2022, global temperatures were the hottest in over 100,000 years. If that continues, children will pay the price. They will face increased risk of heat-related deaths, food scarcity, and future pandemics. I find the prospect of helping children and teenagers overcome their anxiety and depression today, just so that they can inherit an unlivable world tomorrow, grim, and frankly, unacceptable. We must all be doing all we can to reduce carbon emissions. That's why I bike to commute, and the city's trail network helps me and other climate-minded urbanites do so safely. The waterfront trail also keeps children and families safe by calming traffic and providing much-needed space for physical activity. Please do everything you can to prevent the destruction of this vital feature of our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Barnett. David Renicham, welcome. Please give us your name and address, and you've got 1 minute.
My name is David J. Mitchum. I live in the Federal Hill neighborhood of Providence. Many studies across the country have concluded that adding lanes only creates induced demand. So we're just going to add more congestion to the South Water Street. These bike lanes have been pivotal to revitalizing the South Water District, to be able to view the skyline, to be able to use the pedestrian bridge, and just taking these bike lanes and spending the $750,000, which is an egregious amount of money to remove something that has been so vital to the city, is nonsensical. The best way to use that money, in my opinion, would be to expand the bike network that we already have to be able to create more safe spaces for us cyclists to use. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Chris Woods. Chris Woods, and then Ryan Gouliet is next. Is Chris Woods here? Ryan Gouliet? Please give us your name and address, and you've got 1 minute.
Hi, I think I heard correctly. My name is Chris Woods. I live at 178 Gano Street. I'm against removing the bike lane. I think that as the Washington Street Bridge came down, and we need to be thinking about all of the different ways that we can encourage alternative transportation in the city. We shouldn't be taking bike infrastructure out, but we should be adding to it and thinking about ways to get cars off the street, both at South Water Street and citywide. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Welcome, Ryan. So Ryan will be our last speaker tonight. We've got some citywide champs out in the hallway waiting to say hello before our 6 o'clock meeting. Ryan, please give us your name and address, and you've got 1 minute.
Yes, my name is Ryan Gillette. I live at 65 Rankin Ave. I ride my bike all over Providence, and the South Water Street bike lane is one of the best bike lanes in the whole city. I don't think it makes any sense at all to remove it, and I think that Brett Smiley is, he's removing the bike lane to fulfill promises to campaign donors. Like everyone said, the bike lane is safe, it's helpful for everyone in the city. The only downside is the mayor's own financial interests and supporting his donors. So, thank you for your time. I hope you preserve the bike lane. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. So, I really want to thank everyone for coming tonight and sharing some public testimony. I know that we could have spent much more time hearing from all of you. Again, for folks who came late, we wanted to provide an opportunity for public comment ahead of tonight's council meeting, because there's a resolution that will be in front of us at 6 o'clock about opposing the bike lane removal. So thank you all so much. You're, of course, welcome to stay and watch the meeting, and we will reconvene at 6 p.m. Motion, may I have, I'm sorry, and please recognize Councilwoman Vargas joined us. Did I miss anyone along the way? Councilor Royas, welcome. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. We will see you in a quick 10 minutes. Thank you. Can everyone please be quiet for the start of our meeting? Okay. So a big welcome to our citywide champs. Yeah, good. Okay, I know folks are still looking for seats, but we're going to get started. If folks can please be quiet. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller.
Present.
Councilor Anderbois.
Present.
Councilwoman Anthony.
Present.
Councilman Espinal.
Present.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonzalez is absent. Councilwoman Graves. Deputy Majority Leader Harris is absent. Councilwoman Peterson.
Present.
Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo is absent. Councilor Royas.
Present.
Councilwoman Ryan is absent. Majority Whip Sanchez.
Present.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Present.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas.
Present.
Councilman Oscar Vargas is absent. You have 10 present and 5 absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tonight, the invocation will be given by Councilwoman Ana Vargas. Will everyone please rise for the invocation?
Dear God, thank you for giving the opportunity to see these 4 months for this year. And thank you for everybody giving, the hurting and also the prosperity. God, I know that you have everything in control in this work. And thank you, God, for all my college to give me the opportunity to resort some work in our community. God, I want to say always thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here to support our community. Thank you, God, because everything that we have right now is because you to give it the opportunities. God, you know everybody's heart. You know what we need. And what we need to be together to get us a strong Providence to be better and better for the future for our life. Thank you for the opportunity again. And thank you for all my college again. And thank you for you give it all the solution when we not see the solution. You are the solution. And always I keep it in my heart. Thank you, and thank you again. God bless you all.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilwoman Shelley Peterson. Councilwoman.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So thank you. Tonight we have some really special guests who are champions throughout the entire city. And what I'd like to do is to please have a motion to take item 17 out of order.
Madam President, I make that motion.
Second, Madam President.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to take item 17. Madam Clerk.
Item 17 is a resolution recognizing the achievements of championship-winning youth recreational basketball teams.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Could you please read the resolution for us? Thank you. This was a little bit of a surprise. I'm keeping us all on our toes tonight. I apologize.
Whereas the Providence City Council acknowledges the outstanding achievements of the youth recreational basketball teams and their coaches who have demonstrated exceptional dedication, skill, and sportsmanship throughout the season. And whereas the following teams have demonstrated exemplary performance, bringing pride and honor to our community. Boys 10 and under champions, Zucolo Rec Center. Girls 12 and under champions, Vincent Brown Rec Center. Boys 12 and under champions, Kennedy Rec Center. Girls 14 and under champions, Zucolo Rec Center. And boys 14 and under champions, Zucolo Rec Center. Now therefore be it resolved that the Providence City Council extends its heartfelt congratulations to the championship winning teams for their remarkable achievements, perseverance, and dedication to excellence. And be it further resolved that the Providence City Council commends the coaches for their outstanding leadership, guidance, and mentorship, which have played an instrumental role in the success of their respective teams. And be it further resolved that copies of this resolution be presented to each championship winning team and their coaches as a token of appreciation and recognition for their exceptional accomplishments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And may I have a motion to pass item 17 on a voice vote?
I make the motion to pass.
We have a motion, and is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Councilwoman Peterson.
Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate the moment, councilors. I am very, very excited to do this today. If we don't do everything with our kids, with the students and the kids in our communities at the very center of the work that we do, then we shouldn't be here, just saying. But I have been watching. My son was a biddy in the Kennedy Rec League many, many years ago, and I've watched some of these kids come up, and I have to say, seeing them excel at something that they're truly passionate about brings me so much joy. I wanted to have each and every one of these teams be recognized because these are absolute achievements. So if each of these teams could please stand up as a team. Boys 10 and under champions, Zucolo Rec. Girls 12 and under, Vincent Brown Rec. Boys 12 and under, and I have to say my pride and joy, Kennedy Rec. Woo! Girls 14 and under, Zucolo Rec. Woo! And last but definitely not least, Zucolo Rec boys 14 and under champions. On behalf of thank you. On behalf of the entire City Council, I just want to recognize all of your accomplishments. You guys are the future, and we're so very proud of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on item 17? I also want to take a moment to thank all of the coaches who keep our rec centers great and do so much incredible work with all of the students who use the rec centers. Thank you, coaches, for being here tonight. Thank you, parents, for supporting the rec centers and the coaches and the teams. And we could not be more proud of our rec center champs and all of our rec center teams. Counselors, let's take a vote, and then we'll take a quick pause and do a photo. So any further discussion on item 17? Councilwoman Vargas.
It's not discussion, it's que when the kids, be in some play or doing something, because my son do it too, so we feel so proud. I want to say thank you for the parent, because the parent is not bringing it to the kids to the recreation or whatever he has to do, so the parent has to be, woohoo. I give it very, very thankful for the parent, because the parent, left to the job and then had to bring it over there, and then kids had to perform it when they need to perform it, and the coach. But the parent, I give it 100%, I give it a plus.
Okay, further discussion, item 17, Councilwoman Anderbaugh.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to very quickly give a special shout out to the girls of Vincent Brown. Congratulations, you make Ward 3 so proud.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, the motion passes. Councilors, let's invite our teams up and take some pictures into the Chamber of City Hall. Okay, thank you everyone for entertaining our champs. And we'll get back to our meeting. Item 3, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 3 and move approval.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Madam President.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 3? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Item 4, please.
Item 4 is election of interim probate court judge for the period of April 15th, 2024 through July 15th, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any nominations for interim probate court judge for the period of April 15th, 2024 through July 15th, 2024?
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
I nominate Paul Jabor.
Madam President, I second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Madam Clerk, there being no further nominations, the clerk is directed to cast one ballot for Paul Jabor as interim probate court judge for the period of April 15th, 2024 through July 15th, 2024.
So noted.
Thank you. Item 5, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 5.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Please note item 5 as received.
So noted.
Item 6, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the readings of items 6 and 7 and pass for the second time on a roll call vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 6 and 7?
Madam President?
Councilwoman Anderbois.
Thank you so much, Madam President. I am going to stay seated because I always hunker down really weird when I stand to talk. And just read a few notes. So I'm actually going to vote, I'm going to abstain on number 7. And I wanted to share a few concerns, which are similar but different to my concerns about the bike path, which we've already heard tons of testimony about tonight. The Washington Bridge issue is a long-term issue. We already know from the governor that it'll be at least 2 years. He says 2 years, so I'm going to guess closer to 4, let's be real. And I'm worried that we are continuing to just react and thinking of short-term solutions. We don't yet know all of the different traffic patterns and changes that will happen as a result of this. And I don't believe that we've really studied this issue as of yet to have good long-term issues. I recently had a really great, I'll be quick, sorry, I just have a few notes. I recently had a really great conversation with some folks from the Congress for New Urbanism. And one of the things they left me with, which I keep thinking about, is the phrase, never waste a good crisis. No one wanted this to happen. Our residents are feeling the impact in ways we couldn't have predicted. I got stuck in crazy traffic today on the way here, on my way back from the airport, from the bridge, all the way down to Warwick. Like, this is impacting our life in ways we didn't expect. I don't know if you guys read the Boston Globe this morning, but we even saw Asher from Frog and Toad, one of my very favorite stores, quoted as the impacts it is even having on Hope Street businesses, which is not even that close to the bridge. But maybe it was never a good idea for us to be so entirely dependent on one bridge for so much of our commuting traffic. And maybe this is an opportunity for us to take a minute and rethink and plan. Our roads already aren't safe enough. We made a commitment recently as a council, in partnership with the mayor, to Vision Zero. The Intergovernmental Task Force just kicked off on that implementation just 2 weeks ago. I'd also be happy to make sure any of you know about those meetings in case you want to participate. And also, the city is about to update the Great Streets Plan to recognize all the changes that have happened since that plan was released several years ago. We also have amazing resources in our communities. I know I have constituents who are traffic engineers, including the city's traffic engineer, Nate Urso, but several others. I know there are others on the east side who work for MassDOT, for RIDOT. There are lots of really great resources we could be using. And for a very small fraction of the cost of removing the bike lane, we could be hiring firms to help us really think about this. So I just encourage us collectively, and with the mayor, with the administration, with any willing state partners, and I know for a fact the community would like to be involved in this, to really roll up our sleeves and look at all the options in full transparency and share data, share information, and go through a real process to think about what are the impacts that the bridge closure is having, and understand that this is a long-term issue. This isn't December where we thought it might just be 2 weeks. We know this is going to be at least 2 years and hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's plan like that. I'll leave with two quick things. One is, I had a teacher in high school who I think about a lot. He was amazing. His name is Mr. Tracy. And he would always say, prior planning prevents poor performance. And I'm just worried if we act quickly and hastily, we're going to create new problems that we're not envisioning on other streets across the city. And road safety isn't magic. This is a studied thing. We have traffic engineers, we have people who've studied this for a long time. There's a lot of best practices we can learn from, and so I just urge us to take a little bit of time at the beginning here and just roll up our sleeves with the administration, with each other, with the willing state partners we can find, and especially with the community in full transparency to dig in on some real solutions and not lock ourselves into anything that we might regret. This might be great. This might be exactly what we come up with at the end, but it would be great to have a process. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on items 6 or 7?
Madam President.
I'm sorry. Oh, and Councilman Anthony.
I also will be abstaining, and I really appreciate Councilor Anderbaugh's reasoning behind this. While I do appreciate the weight limit issue, and I know that it's been terrible for our roads, I too think that we should pause for a second and think about the ramifications of implementing something like this. My particular concern is the trucks. We don't own the Henderson Bridge. The city does not own the Henderson Bridge, and we've been rerouting a lot of the traffic through the Henderson Bridge onto the east side. I certainly understand the issues. I drive it and walk it every day, but I am worried about the plan. If we're not going to be able to prevent the trucks coming across the bridge, my understanding of the plan is they will be rerouted back across the bridge, and then you're thinking, oh my gosh, you're gonna have, possibly 18-wheelers trying to make those corners and back on the bridge. It just seems that we really should maybe take a minute and really be thoughtful about this and have a greater discussion and have it more open and transparent so the users can participate. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on items 6 or 7? Hearing none. I'm sorry. Councilwoman Graves.
I would concur with my two councilwomen. I too would rather for us to think a little bit more on this. I do believe that the weight is probably going to be too much for our roads, but I don't know if I don't want to be locked into something that we can't get back out of for a while. So I agree with the two of them.
Thank you. Further discussion. Councilman Espinal.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm a little confused. I actually think that this is a very proactive piece of legislation because it takes into consideration all the trucks that weigh more than 30,000 pounds that are getting off 95, and they're using a number of streets such as Gano Street, Angel Street, that have been highlighted already as they're using these roads with these heavy trucks as a shortcut. So I look at it as proactive because those type of vehicles do not belong on the city streets. And it's not going to have an impact on the local businesses because certain vehicles will be exempt. Those are already going into the neighborhood making the deliveries. Service trucks from DPW, buses. So it was carefully looked at and studied. I actually congratulate the sponsor of the legislation, Councilor Goncalves. So I really don't see that side. So I'll be voting for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion. Councilor Goncalves.
Thank you, Councilor Espinal. Really appreciate that. Yes, this is intended to protect the integrity of our local streets. We've heard loud and clear from residents on the east side that they've been impacted by trucks essentially cutting through our neighborhood. As was mentioned, there are exemptions for trash collection trucks, city contracted trucks, school buses. Those vehicles will not be impacted by this ordinance. But essentially what this does is this prevents these really heavy trucks from degrading our roads. We saw on Gano Street, for example, that one of our roads needed to be shut down, one of our local roadways, as a result of the ongoing traffic, specifically from trucks cutting through our local roadways. I've heard that loud and clear from the residents in my neighborhood. This is something that can be amended, and we did take that into consideration. We added more streets, specifically on the east side, and we've been working very closely with the police department to mitigate how we're going to address and enforce this moving forward. So this is very thoughtful. The residents and the people who live in Wayland Square actually helped us think about this very deeply, and it is the right thing to do, especially given all the traffic that's coming from the Henderson Bridge. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Further discussion on item 6 or 7? Councilwoman Vargas.
It's only suggest because I would like to put him back to the ferry because I went to California and in Balboa area have a ferry can transport the car back and forth and people or the people too, and then pay only, well, for me I pay only $2. So this is maybe a good idea to put in the ferry, and also see people working for the state or working for office, it can the manager give it the job and stay home, because that's the more traffic, because people come to Providence and back to east side. So that's my only suggestion. It can be a ferry. You know that.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any further discussion on item 6 or 7? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller.
Aye.
Councilor Anderbaugh.
Aye on 6, abstain on 7.
So noted. Councilwoman Anthony.
Aye on 6 and abstain on 7.
So noted. Councilman Espinal.
Aye on 6 and 7.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonsalves.
Aye on 6 and 7.
Councilwoman Graves.
Aye on both.
Deputy Majority Leader Harris is absent. Councilwoman Peterson.
Aye on both.
Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo.
Aye on both.
Councilor Royas.
Aye on both.
Councilwoman Ryan is absent. Majority Whip Sanchez.
Aye on both.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Aye on both.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas.
I am both.
Councilman Oscar Vargas is absent. You have 12 ayes and 3 absent, with Councilor Anderbaugh and Councilwoman Anthony abstaining on item number 7. The motion carries. The matters are approved for the second time on a roll call vote.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 8, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 8, substitute pass for the first time on a roll call vote as amended, and refer to the Committee on Finance.
Is there a second?
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. First, quickly, I just want to touch on the amendment. I know our staff has reached out to most of us, but generally for the public, we added an amendment on the floor that just reaffirms the responsibilities of our internal auditor. So we wanted to make sure that it's clear in our A-Law ordinance that her responsibilities and duties stay the same. Speaking more broadly on this ordinance, I think this ordinance, in my humble opinion, is one of the most important pieces of legislation that this council will pass in our 4-year term. What this ordinance does is prohibits some of the abuse that has been happening with certain properties when it pertains to property taxes in the city of Providence. So what this does is restricts the 8-law benefit, which is two only residential units that the tenant's household are 80% of the AMI or less, and it restricts the rent to no more than 30% of the income. In this ordinance as well, we prohibit any commercial property to be able to use 8-law treatment, and it also makes non-deed restricted units in such properties eligible for this law. So quickly, I just want to rise in strong support of this. This ordinance is really gonna level the playing field to all possible future applicants that want to use 8-law, 8 Law is a good state law that encourages the development of affordable housing. So lastly, I just want to thank all my colleagues for being engaged on this process, our staff, the policy team, our legal team here, the auditor's office. This ordinance did a lot of outside vetting as well with different nonprofit housing developers. So yeah, I just want to rise in strong support of it. This is a very good piece of legislation that will benefit the people of Providence. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on item 8. Councilman Espinal.
Thank you, Madam President. I also want to rise in support of what I describe, as Councilman Sanchez said, one of the most important pieces of legislation that we could touch upon in our next couple of years and the entire tenure. I think it's important because it adjusts, it identifies issues that were being had with the previous 8 law. And passing this actually is going to promote good, sustainable actions by those that decide to apply for this type of law and benefit. And it's going to ensure that it's going to go to those that actually need it and those that actually qualify. So I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion, Councilwoman Graves.
I too, like Sue, would like to sit. I strongly support this too. As both of them said, we found out that people were slipping through the cracks on this. People that didn't deserve it were getting it, and there's so many people that do need it and weren't getting it. So I think this is going to even the playing field, and it's going to make sure that the people who really need housing but can't afford it can get some. So I strongly am behind this 100%, and I support Sue and everyone else. I mean, Councilwoman Anderbar and everybody else that put it on the floor, because we were back in that haves and have-nots, as I always say, and now it's for everyone, you know, to be able to take a shot at it, and the ones that don't deserve it, not to slip through those cracks again.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Further discussion, Councilman
Council
Gonzalez.
President, everyone said it so eloquently, so I don't want to belabor the point, but I want to thank you for your leadership in putting this in and also doing this in an expeditious fashion. We know that there are lots of folks who are knocking at the door trying to leverage these same kind of subsidies, and affordable housing subsidies should be precisely for affordable housing. So what you're doing and what you're intending to do with this ordinance should be celebrated, and I want to thank you for your leadership, Councilor Sanchez, the other sponsors. Thank you so much for putting this forth, and I hope we can pass this expeditiously.
Thank you, Councilman. Further discussion on item 8. Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller.
Aye.
Councilor Anderbaugh.
Aye.
Councilwoman Anthony. Aye. Councilman Espinal.
Aye.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonsalves.
Aye.
Councilwoman Graves.
Aye.
Deputy Majority Leader Harris is absent. Councilwoman Peterson.
Aye.
Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo.
Aye.
Councilor Royas. Councilwoman Ryan is absent. Majority Whip Sanchez.
Aye.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas.
Aye.
Councilman Oscar Vargas is absent. You have 12 ayes, 3 absent. The motion carries. The matter is passed for the first time on a roll call vote as amended and referred to the Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 9.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of items 9 through 12.
Second that motion, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 9 through 12? Majority Leader Taylor.
I'd like to recuse on number 9.
Thank you. Any further discussion on items 9 through 12? All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Madam Clerk, please refer item 9 to the Committee on Ordinances and items 10, 11, and 12 to the Committee on Finance.
So noted.
Item 13.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of items 13 through 19.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 13 through 19? Councilman Gonzalez.
Madam President, I'd like to speak on item number 14, and this has to do with the resolution in opposition to the removal of the Southwater bike lanes. We heard from our constituents across the city loud and clear that the decision to remove the Southwater Street bike lane is one that can undo progress in under the guise, I should say, of a temporary fix for the Washington Bridge closure. We heard it from people tonight, whether it was families, whether it was children, whether it was small business owners, that this is a misguided move. It's a dishonest and disingenuous attempt to manufacture a crisis on the Southwater Street bike lane that doesn't exist and will completely seek to dismantle these lanes. The proposal also to spend $750,000 of CIP dollars that we didn't approve as a council is not just absurd, it's an obscene misuse, in my opinion, of city resources that this council did not approve. Think about it, $750,000, what we could do in terms of addressing some of the infrastructure challenges in all of our wards. And this isn't fiscal responsibility, it's not sound governance. And this is a capitulation to a few businesses that are opposed to these bike lanes and have been opposed to these bike lanes since the onset. Over the past few days, we've received hundreds of letters of opposition. We've received emails, calls from residents across the city who have seen the direct benefits of these bike lanes. Families have shared heartwarming stories of how converting Southwater to a one-lane has significantly improved their quality of life, the quality of life of their children and the community at large. Reduced traffic speeds, safer crossings, and a more livable cityscape and waterfront are just a few positive changes of the Southwater Street bike trail. And I want to be just super crystal clear that it's entirely disingenuous to claim that the recent issues of the Washington Bridge closure necessitate the removal of the bike lanes, especially because we have no data to corroborate that. The truth is, as uncomfortable as it may be for some to hear, it's the concerted efforts to erase these lanes, again, long before this bridge issue had surfaced. So this is about this isn't about alleviating traffic congestion. It's about reverting it to a less inclusive, less safe, and less forward-thinking piece of infrastructure for our public spaces. I want to just point to the data that we do have. So data has shown an 84 to 96% reduction in vehicles traveling over 30 miles per hour, making our streets safer for everyone. And yet, despite all the evidence of the contrary, there are those who would have us believe that tearing up the lanes will somehow be to our collective benefit. So I stand before you and say enough, because we're not swayed against arguments that fly in the face of reason and evidence and data, and we can't just let the fabric of our community be dismantled and torn apart for the sake of expediency or to cater to the interest of a few. The Southwater Street bike lanes represent more than just a strip of pavement designated for cyclists. They symbolize our commitment to a greener, more sustainable, and a more equitable Providence. We passed the Green and Complete Streets Ordinance. I want to congratulate Councilwoman Anderbaugh for her leadership on that. And that's a commitment that we made as a city, both this council and the administration. So I hope that you'll join me in passing this resolution so we can raise our voices, and we should demand that city resources, remember, the council is the arbiter of the budget. We should demand that city resources and resources that we previously approved through the capital improvement project are not used on projects like this that are going to move us backward instead of propelling us forward. And we should remind folks that the people of Providence are watching, and we expect decisions that enhance and not diminish quality of life. So I hope that we'll stand together, and I hope that we'll ensure that CIP funds are not used to rip up these bike lanes. Thank you so much, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor. Further discussion on items 13 through 19. Counselor Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm also going to speak on behalf of item 14, and I might be a little direct and honest on my comments. This is a lot more than just bike lanes. In my opinion, the mayor's actions on such proposal is a direct slap in the face to each and one of us. There is so much data and research out there that shows that adding a lane of travel will never reduce congestion. There's policy out there that shows us there's other ways to do it, but I don't even want to talk about that because it's becoming very clear that the mayor is using this unfortunate incident that is impacting a lot of folks in our state in my opinion, to fulfill a promise, whether that's a campaign promise to certain supporters or whatnot. It started by moving PVD Fest to this certain area of the city, and now he's doing this action of removing a lane of transportation that does the complete opposite of what the concern is. Adding other forms of transportation helps car traffic, congestion. So my opinion, this is super irresponsible on the mayor's behalf. Up to this point, I will give him the benefit of doubt. I think he has proposed a lot of data-oriented proposals, but this one is just completely false. It's disrespectful to the neighborhood, to the counselor in that area. So, like I said, this is a lot more than just bike lanes, in my humble opinion. This is something that we all should be united on, because if it's bike lanes now in Ward 1, what is it going to be next in our neighborhoods? And as counselors of our respected wards, it's our duty to elevate those concerns. And then just quickly touch on the cost point. $700,000 about to remove this. We all know the dire need of infrastructure in all of our wards. So why is the mayor and his team proposing to use taxpayer dollars to go backwards? So those are my main points on my reasoning to oppose, in my opinion, this very irresponsible proposal by the mayor. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor. Further discussion items 13 through 19. Is that you,
Madam President?
Councilman Anderbaugh.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to Councilman Goncalves for sponsoring this resolution. I'm also speaking on item 14. I co-sign everything that the councilman said, as well as my colleague, Councilman Sanchez. And just want to add, people are tired of hearing me talk about climate change and pedestrian safety, so I won't talk about either of those things. But as a member, you all know how I feel about all that. But as a member of the Finance Committee, I am just really concerned about $750,000 of city resources being used to take out infrastructure. I know I personally speak to constituents all the time about things that we can't do because we don't have enough money. They ask for really simple things like stop signs and speed humps and working bathrooms at the Martin Luther King School. You know, like things that should be really simple. And it's hard to always say, you know, I wish we had another Nate Urso. I wish we had another this. I'm working so hard on the Finance Committee to find resources for X. I'm sorry that park keeps flooding. And then to use $750,000 to remove infrastructure that's not broken is just fiscally irresponsible and frankly a little offensive to the city and to our taxpayers who just had to absorb a tax increase last year. So as a member of the Finance Committee, I'm just really concerned about this. I'm concerned that this hasn't come before the Finance Committee. It hasn't come before Council. for approval before an announcement was made. I appreciate that the mayor did talk to some of us ahead of time to give us a heads up it was happening, but I did not know that this would be $750,000, which is just an obscene amount of money.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilwoman Graves?
Again, I agree with some of the council. I believe that the bike lanes should be, or any of those things should go by what the people in that community wants. I don't think that it's a fit for everyone. Having said that, because, well, Ward 12 voted it down before, so, but having said that, it's already there. And it makes no sense to tear up something that's already there. I agree, we don't have the funds. They're talking about they're gonna cut the budget. So if we're cutting the budget, why would we add more? We're gonna tear it down and build something else. So mine is probably money-wise. I will be voting for this, and I want the people in Ward 12 not to hang me because we voted against a bike lane, but it has nothing to do with the bike lane. And it has to do with the fact that it's already there, that community wanted it, and that's where we're gonna go.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Further discussion, items 13 through 19. Councilwoman Peterson.
Madam President.
Thank you. So in trying to, when I spoke with Councilor Gonsalves with regards to this particular resolution, I'm a person that actually is very much affected by the travel day in and day out. I have to travel every single day to the East Bay at peak hours, and I'm spending upwards of about an hour each way, which was something that never really happened before prior to the bridge issue. I have used South Water Street to navigate in times where I've needed to circumvent all of the traffic that's happening because I have to get my child to school. So I very much understand the urgency of making sure that we're trying to alleviate some of the traffic issues that we're going to be seeing as we continue to navigate what the bridge is. It is not something that is fun or pretty to have to deal with every single day. However, I do not like the fact, and I have to agree with you, Councilwoman Andrebois, that $700,000 is a very hefty amount that we have to often have to say no to things in our community as a result of not having enough. $700,000 coming out of some other project that we need to do is something that I'm not willing to do to our constituents. I supported this from the beginning simply because of the fact that I understand that multimodal opportunities for transportation are absolutely necessary and we shouldn't be taking them away. But I do very much believe that this hefty sum is unfair to take away from a different potential project that we absolutely need. So I will be supporting this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. President Pro Tem Pichardo.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you. Thank the sponsor of the resolution. I know that it's been the headlines and the actions of some residents in the city of Providence. I rise as I'm going to be abstaining. I think that the points that have been made of the recommendations or the actions that the mayor is taking forward in spending as has been reported and I guess confirmed through us, that about $750,000 will be spent to undo these bike lanes. I too agree that it's would impact the budgets in the city of Providence, but also impacts the local residents. And I speak about how our neighbors also have bike lanes or other things that have inconvenience or to some degree also put some bike riders the avenue. And I speak of the one on Broad Street. Every day I hear feedback from my constituents and especially businesses. And so I think that while I'll agree that it's perhaps spending to redo this bike lane on South Street, or South Water Street. I'm going to be abstaining because I think that the mayor needs to hear clearly from not just only the bikers, but everyone else in the city. Just because something has been done already and has been spent, if it's affecting residents and community, we should also be able to hear them out. And I still haven't had the opportunity to speak to the mayor directly on this. I don't have a lot of information where else this is going to have an impact on. I would like to have that discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion, items 13 through 19. Councilman Espinal.
Thank you, Madam President. I've been a friend and a supporter of the bike lanes since the beginning. I remember years ago when it used to be called City Walk, with the idea of connecting all over Providence's neighborhood and increasing public and pedestrian safety and increasing different ways to get around our city. And I've been a strong advocate. I also tend to support my colleagues in their wards when they have issues in their community as they know best. However, I would not characterize it in the way that it was described as to the mayor's action. I do not speak for him, but I am a resident of the city. I think that our transportation system, it has a lot of issues which has been exacerbated by the issues that we have with the bridge. And I think that certain adjustments are going to have to be made as we move forward and we deal with the issues that we have at hand. Last week when this resolution was put together, it was a call to remove the bike lanes. Today, it is a call to move the bike lanes. Today, we heard from the bikers, from community members. Next Monday, there's going to be a meeting on this issue. I don't know what the final proposal is going to be or what it's going to look like. I would like to know what that is so that I know exactly what it is that I'm voting on. So therefore, I will also be abstaining. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion, items 13 through 19. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Abstain on 14.
Abstain on 14.
Okay. Any further abstentions on items 13 through 19? Any against? All right, the motion passes. Thank you. I was going to I didn't want to take away from the conversation, but I do want to have a very brief point of personal expression on item 13 now that it is passed. So, friends, there are not a lot of businesses in this city that has been operating continuously for 100 years with the same family. This weekend, Angelo's on Federal Hill is celebrating their 100th anniversary. We did just pass a resolution in their honor, and I will look forward to bringing it to them this weekend, and I encourage you all to come visit. Madam Clerk, item 20, please.
Madam President.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Motion to waive the reading of item 20 and pass for the first time on a roll call vote.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 20? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller?
Aye.
Councilor Anderbaugh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Anthony?
Aye.
Councilman Espinal?
Aye.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilwoman Graves?
Aye.
Deputy Majority Leader Harris is absent. Councilwoman Peterson? Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo?
Aye.
Councilor Royas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryan is absent. Majority Whip Sanchez?
Aye.
Majority Leader Taylor?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas?
Aye.
Councilman Oscar Vargas is absent. You have 12 ayes and 3 absent. The motion carries. The matters passed for the first time on a roll call vote.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 21,
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 21 and receive and approve.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 21? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. Item 22,
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of items 22 through 26.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 22 through 26? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Madam Clerk, please note 22 and 23 as received. Refer items 24 to the Claims and Pending Suits Committee, 25 to the Committee on Urban Redevelopment Renewal and Planning, and note 26 as received.
So noted.
27, please.
Madam President,
Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 27 and pass on a voice vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 27? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Before we read item 28, I would just like us all to take a brief moment of silence for our colleague, Deputy Majority Leader Harris's granddaughter who passed away. I hope others will be joining me at the wake immediately after. So let's please take a moment of silence for her and her family, and then we'll hear 28. Thank you very much. And I know that she feels the love that we've been sending her all week. Item 28, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 28 and pass on a unanimous rising vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to suspend Rule 16B of the Rules of the City Council in order to take a matter not appearing on the docket.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 29 and lay on the table.
A motion and a do we have a second on that motion?
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 29? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? The motion passes.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
if there is no further business, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Leonardo Urena and Emily Carolyn Cheney.
Second, Madam President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. Can we please take a moment and recognize the tremendous amount of work our clerks have done this week and every week, truly. But Angela, Shuri, and Tina, did y'all see the stack? I don't know if folks saw those two giant stacks. So we had 2 stacks of letters tonight. We had a huge stack of citations. And everyone in the clerk's office moves it every day. So thank you.